Rules you follow daily that exist for reasons nobody remembers. Let's get straight to the point. Number 8, the ancient weapon check handshake. You extend your hand to a stranger at a networking event without even thinking about it. Firm grip, eye contact, 2 pumps. Done. You've just completed a ritual that started because medieval knights were terrified of getting stabbed. Yep, that friendly greeting where you grab someone's sweaty palm. It began as a weapons inspection. Ancient warriors would clasp forearms and shake vigorously to dislodge any hidden daggers tucked up sleeves. It was less nice to meet you and more prove you won't murder me. The ancient Greeks and Romans used handshakes to seal treaties and show peaceful intent. Your empty hand meant no sword, no problem. Fast forward to the 1600s, and Quakers adopted it as an egalitarian alternative to bowing, because apparently hierarchical greetings were too fancy for them. But here's the kicker. You're doing a security check designed for a world where everyone carried weapons, and you do it at Starbucks. Neuroscience suggests physical touch triggers oxytocin release, which builds trust and social bonding. So, ironically, this paranoid gesture became a connection builder. But the original reason? Pure survival. The handshake is basically ancient TSA, except instead of removing your shoes, you're proving you're not concealing a blade. And yes, we still do it, even though the biggest threat in most meetings is someone's garlic breath. Save the handshake for sealing deals, or just fist bump. Less germs, same vibe, zero medieval paranoia. Number 7, the slow you down keyboard conspiracy. Do you ever wonder why your keyboard puts Q next to W, or why the letters aren't just in alphabetical order like a sane person would design? Congratulations! You're typing on a layout specifically engineered to solve a problem that hasn't existed since the 1800s. The QWERTY keyboard was created by Christopher Sholes in the 1860s for mechanical typewriters. Early typewriters had a nasty habit. If you typed too fast, the metal type bars would jam together like a car pileup. The solution? Separate the most commonly used letters so your fingers had to jump around the keyboard. Make typing harder, prevent jams, profit. Sholes didn't set out to torture you. He was solving a mechanical limitation. But here's the twist. Modern research suggests the slowing down theory might be overblown. Some historians argue QWERTY was actually designed for telegraph operators transcribing Morse code, placing commonly confused letters like Z, S, and E close together for convenience. Either way, by the time electric typewriters eliminated jamming in the 1960s, millions of typists had already learned QWERTY. Retraining an entire generation felt impossible. Then came computers, and manufacturers stuck with QWERTY because, wait for it, it was familiar. So you're typing on a system optimized for machines that no longer exist, all because switching felt like too much work. There are better layouts out there. Dvorak, Colmac both claim faster speeds and less finger strain, but QWERTY won by inertia, not superiority. Every email you send is a monument to outdated technology and corporate laziness. Unless you're brave enough to relearn how to type, you're stuck with it. Good luck. Number 6, the weekend that was born from capitalism. You thank God it's Friday, right? You live for weekends, plan your life around them, maybe even have a Sunday scaries ritual. But did you know the 5-day work week wasn't designed for your well-being? It was a sales strategy. In 1926, Henry Ford shocked the industrial world by cutting his factories down to 5 days and 40 hours per week. Other companies thought he lost his mind. The newspapers mocked him, but Ford had a genius capitalist motive. If workers had leisure time and money, they'd buy more stuff. Specifically, they'd buy cars. Ford wasn't giving you rest out of kindness. He was creating consumers. The man literally said workers needed time off so they could spend their wages. It was Fordism, funded one, now in one. Mass production requires mass consumption. Give them 2 days off and suddenly they need vehicles for weekend trips, appliances for their homes, entertainment for their families. The 5-day week wasn't about humanity, it was about moving product. Psychologically, this taps into the scarcity mindset. You work hard all week, so you deserve to spend your paycheck on fun. The weekend became a cultural institution, not because humans naturally need 2 days of rest, though we do, but because capitalism needed customers. The Fair Labor Standards Act didn't make the 40-hour week law until 1938, more than a decade after Ford's experiment. By then, the weekend had already been weaponized into a consumption ritual. But here's the reality check. You're allowed to enjoy weekends without feeling guilty about their capitalist origins. Just know that when you're shopping on Saturday, you're doing exactly what Henry Ford wanted. The system works. You've been programmed to work, spend, repeat. At least you get brunch out of it. Number 5, the 9-minute snooze button time warp. Every morning you hit snooze. The alarm shuts up for exactly 9 minutes. Not 8, not 10, 9. And you probably never question why, because who thinks clearly at 6 a.m.? But this quirk is a fossil from the 1950s, and it makes zero logical sense. When General Electric introduced the first snooze-equipped alarm clock in 1956, the gloriously named snooze alarm, they had a problem. The internal gears couldn't align to give you a perfect 10-minute delay. The clockwork constraints meant they could offer about 9 minutes or just over 10. Engineers chose 9, fearing that anything past 10 minutes would let you slip into deep sleep and make waking up even harder. But here's where it gets absurd. We don't use mechanical gears anymore. Your smartphone has no gears. Your digital alarm has no physical limitations. Yet Apple and most manufacturers kept the 9-minute snooze as a nostalgic nod to obsolete technology. You're operating on a 70-year-old mechanical compromise that has nothing to do with modern sleep science or your actual needs. Neuroscience Neuroscience confirms that hitting snooze is terrible for you anyway. Those fragmented 9-minute naps disrupt your sleep cycles, leaving you groggier than if you'd just gotten up. It's called sleep inertia. Your brain doesn't have time to complete a sleep phase, so you wake up feeling like garbage. But the real insult, you can't even change it on an iPhone. Apple hard-coded 9 minutes into the system as an homage to the past, trapping you in a time loop of inefficiency. The snooze button is a lie. It doesn't give you rest. It gives you 9 minutes of anxiety before the alarm screams again. And you do it every single day because of a gear problem from the Eisenhower administration. Set one alarm. Get up. Stop negotiating with a piece of nostalgia. Number 4. The water myth you've been chugging for decades. 8 glasses of water a day. You've heard it your whole life. Maybe you even carry a motivational water bottle with hourly markings to keep you on track. But guess what? There's zero scientific evidence behind the 8-8-8 rule. None. It's a myth dressed up as health advice, and you've been falling for it. The idea likely originated from a 1945 recommendation by the Food and Nutrition Board, which suggested people need about 2.5 liters of water daily. But here's the part everyone forgets. They said most of that comes from food. You're already getting water from fruits, vegetables, coffee, tea, soup. Everything you eat and drink counts. A 2002 review published in the American Journal of Physiology found no scientific studies supporting the 8 glasses rule. Your body has a built-in hydration system. It's called thirst. Psychologically, this taps into health anxiety and the desire for simple rules. Drink 8 glasses is easy to remember and makes you feel virtuous. It's like counting steps or calories, a quantifiable goal that gives the illusion of control. The beverage industry loves it too. Bottled water companies have spent billions convincing you that tap water is inferior and that you're perpetually dehydrated. Spoiler alert, you're not. Unless you're running marathons in the desert, your kidneys are doing just fine regulating your fluid balance. But here's the reality check. Drinking excessive water can actually be harmful. Hyponatremia, when your blood sodium gets too diluted, can cause nausea, confusion, and seizures, and in extreme cases, death. Your body doesn't need you to force feed it liquid. It needs you to listen to it. Drink when you're thirsty. Eat water-rich foods. Stop obsessing over arbitrary numbers invented by a board in the 1940s. Your kidneys are smarter than a motivational Instagram post. Number 3, the left or right driving dice roll. You drive on the right side of the road without thinking about it, or the left if you're in the UK, Australia, or Japan. Either way, you follow the rule religiously because, well, crashing is bad. But this isn't some carefully designed traffic system based on safety science. It's a historical accident, literally. In medieval Europe, people rode horses on the left so their right hand, the sword hand, was free to defend against oncoming strangers. Knights kept their enemies on the right for easy stabbing the access. Made sense at the time. But when wagons became common in the US, teamsters sat on the left rear horse to use their right hand for the whip. To see oncoming traffic, they needed to drive on the right side of the road. Then in 1908, Henry Ford mass-produced the Model T with the steering wheel on the left, cementing right-side driving. Meanwhile, in Britain, the aristocracy kept their carriages on the left, and when cars arrived, they stuck with tradition. So the US went right, the UK went left, and the rest of the world picked sides like a geopolitical coin flip. Psychologically, humans love consistency. Once a standard is set, changing it feels catastrophic, even if it's arbitrary. Sweden switched from left to right in 1967. Dagen H, they called it, and the logistics were a nightmare. Overnight, they repainted every road sign and retrained every driver. Most countries looked at that and said, no thanks. But here's the reality check. Neither side is safer. Studies show accident rates are roughly the same, regardless of which side you drive on. The only thing that matters is consistency within a country. You're obeying a rule that exists because of medieval sword fights and wagon logistics. The road you drive on every day is a monument to historical randomness. At least you're not getting stabbed anymore. Progress. Number 2, the QWERTY zombie that refuses to die. Wait, didn't we already cover this? Yes, but it's so absurd it deserves a double take. You're typing on a keyboard layout from 1878 that was either designed to prevent jamming or help telegraph operators. Historians still debate which, but either way, the problem it solved disappeared before your grandparents were born. And yet, here you are, stretching your pinky to hit P and wondering why typing feels inefficient. Competitors like Dvorak emerged in the 1930s, boasting 70% of typing done on the home row, compared to QWERTY's 32%. Colmac showed up in 2006 with even better ergonomics. Both promised speed, comfort, and reduced strain. But they failed spectacularly because of one thing: entrenchment. Millions of people already knew QWERTY. Retraining felt impossible. Companies didn't want to deal with the transition costs. Schools kept teaching QWERTY because businesses used QWERTY. It's a self-perpetuating loop of mediocrity. Economists call this path dependence, when the first choice locks you into a suboptimal system forever. QWERTY isn't the best layout. It's just the one we're stuck with because changing would require collective effort, and humans hate coordinated change. Neuroscience confirms that relearning motor patterns is cognitively expensive. Your brain has deeply ingrained muscle memory for QWERTY. Switching to Dvorak would feel like learning to walk again. So you don't. Nobody does. And QWERTY wins by default. The keyboard you're using right now is a monument to inertia, corporate laziness, and our collective inability to admit we made a bad choice 150 years ago. You could switch, you could retrain, but you won't. And that's exactly why QWERTY will outlive us all. Number 1, the ritual ritual of the empty hand. Finally, the big one. We're circling back to the handshake, but this time from a different angle, because the handshake isn't just a medieval weapon check. It's a performance of trust that we've turned into a mandatory social script, and we do it even when it makes zero sense. Post-pandemic, health experts screamed, "Stop shaking hands, germs, disease." Dr. Roderick and Anthony Fauci literally said we should never shake hands again. Studies show a handshake transfers 10 times more bacteria than a fist bump. It's a germ vector masquerading as politeness, and yet people still do it. Why? Because refusing feels rude. The handshake has become a social contract. Declining it signals not distrust, hostility, or weirdness. Your brain's social circuitry interprets a refused handshake as rejection, triggering the same neural response as physical pain. We're neurologically wired to conform to social norms. Even when those norms are objectively stupid, you'd rather risk getting sick than seem unfriendly. Psychologists call this normative social influence. You follow the group to avoid judgment. The handshake persists not because it's useful, but because deviating from the script feels scarier than the consequences of following it. You shake hands at job interviews, business meetings, and weddings because it's expected. The ritual has outlived its function, but the social penalty for breaking it is too high. But here's the reality check. You don't owe anyone your germs. The handshake is a choice, not a law. You can fist bump, you can bow, you can smile and wave. The world won't end if you skip the hand-grabbing ceremony. Stop performing rituals that serve no purpose other than making other people comfortable. Your health matters more than a stranger's expectations. The handshake is optional. Start acting like it. We'll be back next week to unpack more of the arbitrary rules running your life. Until then, try questioning literally anything you do on autopilot. Peace.